Good morning, Year 4. Welcome to Thursday's maths lesson. Are we ready to get started? Excellent. Everyone jump to their feet and let's get moving. Okay, what I'd like you to do to start with is just march on the spot really fast, get those arms pumping and get your knees really high. Okay, and then let's go all the way round. Okay, keep going. Okay, right, and now get it into a jog. Okay, and keep punching as you go. Get lots of energy. Well done. Okay, punch up. Keep moving, everybody. So what we want to do, keep big smiles on our faces, punch out to the side. Okay, well done. Now, step to the side and reach up. Really high, bend those knees. Brilliant, everybody. Keep yourselves going. Go low to high, low to high. Okay, and across. Well done. Keeping in time with the beat of the music. Well done. We're waking ourselves up, feeling full of energy. Okay, now we can do some squats. So, legs apart a bit, down and up, down and up, down and up, down and up. That's brilliant. Okay, so you start to feel that in your legs a bit. Okay, well done. Right, let's do some star jumps. Okay, nice star jumps. Arms right up, legs outstretched. Should be feeling, getting a little bit out of breath now. Keep yourself moving. Okay, and we'll do some lunge jumps again. Okay, one foot in front of the other. Jumping from foot to foot, swapping over. Okay. Right, and now let's hop on one leg. Can't see me, but I'm hopping. Hop on the other leg. Hop round on one leg in a circle and go back on the other leg. Woo, well done, everybody. We are ready to begin. Okay, I wonder if any of you managed to solve the problem from yesterday. We had some matchsticks or little sticks, and we had 6 + 4 = 4, which we know is not true. Did you realize that you could have moved this stick here and put it here to make a 0? 0 + 4 = 4, and that would have been correct. Or did you realize that you could have moved this stick here to make a 5 there and placed it above there to make a 9? Really well done if you managed to get that. That wasn't an easy puzzle to solve, so well done. Okay. Today, we are going to recognise and write decimal equivalents for tenths and hundredths. And it is the 3rd of February, okay? Correction, it is the 4th of February. You'll see I have now changed that. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's quite a long, wordy Walt. I would like you to pause the video and write it down. If you want to do shorthand for tenths and hundredths to make it a little bit quicker, if I just show you on the board here, you can write 1/10 and 1/100th for where it says tenths and hundredths. Okay, so pause the video, write your data mark, beautiful handwriting, underlined, and then we're ready to start. Okay. Right, we have got a 5 a day to start. So again, you don't nothing to print off here. You can answer the 5 questions in your books. If you can see the top 5 questions going across, they are for circles and squares. The bottom set of questions are for pentagons and hexagons. That is our guide. If you feel you want to try the other set of questions, that's absolutely fine. I'm not saying you have to do those, but that's a guide. So top set, circles and squares, bottom set, pentagons and hexagons. So I suggest you pause the video, answer those questions, and then we will go through the answers. Okay, so question 1 for squares and circles was, what is 3 kilometers in meters? And if I just show you on this board here, I've written it out. 3 kilometers in meters, we hopefully have realized that we need to multiply by 1,000. So it is 3,000 meters. Give yourself a big tick if you got that right. For pentagons and hexagons, 3.74 kilometers. Again, we're multiplying by 1,000, so the numbers are going to jump 3 places to the left, and you should have worked out it was 3,740 meters. So give yourself a big tick if you got that right. Question 2 was, can you draw an obtuse angle? Now, an obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees. A right angle is 90 degrees. That's our right angle. Anything that is greater than that is an obtuse angle, okay? You could even have had it even more than that, or you could have had it slightly less than that, but that's still obtuse angles. So again, if you got that right, give yourself a pat on the back. You've done well. That's 2 out of 2 so far. Question 3, it said increase for circles and squares 437 by 347. So we were doing a column addition because increase means you make it get bigger. So you add the numbers together. 7 and 7 is 14. So we put the 4 in and exchange the 1. 4 and 3 is 7. Add 1 more is 8. And remember to cross it off when you've added it. 4 and 3 is 7. So your answer was 784. Well done if you got that. Right, pentagons and hexagons. It was increased 3,427 by 3,478. Right, 7 and 8 is 15, 5 and put the 1 to exchange. 7 and 2 is 9, add 1 more is 10. So we put the 0 in and exchange the 1. 4 add 4 is 8, add 1 more is 9, and 3 and 3 is 6. So our answer is 6,905. Right, question number 4 for circles. I have 4 sacks with 376 potatoes in each. How many potatoes are there in total? So we needed to do a multiplication, 376 multiplied by 4. Okay, and I'll go through the answer to that in a moment. For hexagons and pentagons, we have got 7 sacks with 2,376 grains of corn in each. How many grains of corn are there? Again, we need to do a multiplication, which is 2,376 multiplied by 7. So let me go through both of those with you. Right, so circles and squares, here's your question. We start this side. 4 times 6 is 24, so we put the 4 in and the 2 underneath. 4 times 7 is 28, add 2 more is 30, so we put the 0 in and exchange the 3. 3 times 4 is 12, add 3 more is 15, so we put the 5 in and exchange the 1. So your answer is 1,504. We haven't looked at multiplication for a while, so hopefully you remembered how to do that. And then pentagons and hexagons. 7 times 6 is 42, so we put the 2 in and exchange the 4. 7 times 7 is 49, add 4 more is 53, so we put the 3 in and exchange the 5. Cross that off. 3 times 7 is 21, add 5 more makes 26, so we put the 6 in and exchange the 2. And then 7 times 2 is 14, add 2 more is 16, okay, which gives us 16,632. Wow, that's a big number. Well done if you managed to correctly do that and get it all accurate. Right, and our last question, which we have looked at, is fractions of amounts. So for circles and squares, you had to find 1/3 of 15. Okay, and for pentagons and hexagons, you had to find 2/7 of 42. So 1/3 of 15. You could have done it in 2 ways. You could either draw your bar model and split your bar into 3 parts and share out our 15, okay, and worked out that in 1/3 there were 5. So our answer to 1/3 of 15 is 5. Or you could have said 15 divided by 3 gives me 5. Pentagons and hexagons, 2/7 of 42. Again, you could have drawn out your bar. I'm not going to draw that because it would take me a long time to draw all the dots. Okay, but you could have drawn your bar and split it into 7 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Shared out your 42. And then we're focusing on 2 parts. Okay, but the way I'm hoping you're starting to do it is saying divide by the bottom number. 42 divided by 7 equals 6. Okay, and then you take that answer and you multiply it by the top number, which is 2. So the answer is 12. Right, there were some tricky questions in there. Really, really well done if you managed to get 4 or 5 of those correct, because they were not all easy. Right, we've got our exercises, okay, to show you what I'd like you to do. So if you've got 1 correct, you are about to start bunny hopping around the room. If you got 2 correct, you're doing some star jacks. 3 correct, you're going to do some lunge jumps. 4 correct, climb the rigging. And 5, you get to choose. Right, your time starts now. Off you go. Get yourselves up, get moving. You have got to keep yourselves going. You might think nobody's watching you, okay, but it's all really good for your energy, keeping yourselves moving, okay? We're nearly halfway through our time, and as I've always said, if you're finding it hard, just keep yourselves going, keep yourselves moving. We are down to our last 10 seconds. Really well done. Good effort, everybody. And I'm going to count you down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Okay, sit yourselves down again. Okay, have a look at this diagram here. What fraction is this showing? Basically, if you count the purple part, what part is shaded? Pause the video, write it down. Well done if you wrote down 7/10. Okay, it's been divided into 10 parts and 7 of them were shaded in. I'm sure you got that right. So looking at this diagram, this now is a 100 square. So each row or column, sorry, is 10 squares. So what fraction is shaded in yellow out of a total of 100? Pause the video and jot down your answer. Well done if you worked out it was 65, and you didn't need to count them all, because you could have said 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it was 65 hundredths, because 65 of them are shaded in out of 100. Now, I'm fairly confident you'd be quite good at that. And as I say, what we're going to do in a little while is look at the decimal equivalent of those fractions. So we've got another one here, some tennis balls. Pause the video, what fraction has been circled? Well done if you said 5/10, because 5 out of 10 have got a circle around them. And another 100 square, pause the video, what fraction has been shaded? Well done if you said 40 hundredths, because 40 out of 100 have been coloured in. Okay, now we could, for 40 hundredths, have said it was 4/10. Think back as well to our work we did on equivalent fractions, okay, where whatever you've done to the bottom number you do to the top. 100 divided by 10 is 10. 40 divided by 10 is 4. So we know they're the same. But also you can look at this diagram, and although it's been split into 100 squares, imagine that each column is just been split into 10 columns of 10. So how many columns are shaded? 4 columns out of 10 columns. Okay. So think back as well to our place value grid, okay? We know this is our ones column, okay? So what is the next column? We know it is our tens, and we've already done work on this, so we know what these 2 columns are worth, okay? And that's obviously going to, the one moving on is going to be our hundreds. And then the other way is our tenths, well done. And the next one is our hundredths. Okay, so we've already seen that because we did our multiplying and dividing by 10 and 100 and 1,000 a couple of weeks ago. So if you were to put 3/10 into the place value grid, where would the 3 go? Pause your video and see if you can work out what 3/10 would be as a decimal. Well done if you put the 3 in the tenths column, because there are 3/10. 3/10 as a fraction means there are no whole numbers. So we've got a 0 in the ones, but there are 3/10. So we put our 3 into the tenths column. Right, what about 7/10? Pause the video and say what you think it will be as a decimal. Well done if you put the 7 in the tenths column. Again, it is a fraction. A fraction is part of a whole number. There are no whole numbers in 7/10, which is why we have a 0 in the ones column, but there are 7/10, so we put it in the tenths column. And what about 1/10? I'm sure you're getting the hang of this now. Pause the video and think what 1/10 will be as a decimal. Well done if you realize it was 0.1. There are no whole numbers, but there is 1/10. Okay, so 0.1 is the same as 1/10. Okay. Right, what about 10/10 as a decimal number? Pause the video and see if you can think what 10/10 is the same as. Well done if you spotted that 10/10 is one whole, okay? 10/10 is one whole. So just want to show you over here what I've drawn up, okay? I can see the lights reflecting there quite badly. Just move that board slightly. Oop. Oh, there's a bit of light right where I don't want it to be. There you go, I've changed that, solved the problem. So 0.3 is 3/10, 0.7 is 7/10, 0.1 is 1/10. Okay, let's move on to look at hundredths then. What about if we have got 4 hundredths? Okay, pause the video and see if you can think where that might be and therefore what number it would be as a decimal. Well done if you worked out that it would be 0.04. There are only 4 hundredths, so it goes in the hundredths column. Okay, there are no tenths in that number, but we do need to fill up that space as a placeholder with a 0. Okay, because if you had only written 0.4, that would be 4/10, which is different to 4 hundredths, which is 4 out of 100. Okay, what about 2 hundredths? Pause the video and see if you can have a try. Well done. If you put 0.02, you put the 2 in the hundredths column. And again, filled up the tenths with 0. And it doesn't matter if you didn't put the 0 at the start, but you do need the decimal point. And ideally, you put 0.02. So we've got another one, 8 hundredths. Pause the video and see if you can think what it'll be as a decimal. Well done if you put the 8 in the hundredths column and 0 in the tenths and 0 in the ones. So we get 0.08. Right. What about then 10 hundredths? Pause the video and see if you can work out where 10 hundredths is going to go. Well done if you worked out that it needed to go as 0.1. And we've got a diagram to show what we've got here. Okay, you can see that 10 hundredths, okay, has been shaded in there. But that 10 hundredths, as we've already talked about, is the same as 1/10. 1/10. So you can have your 1 in the tenths column, and there's no other extra parts to go in the hundreds. So it is 0.1. If you had written 0.01, that would be 1 hundredth, and that would mean that only one of those squares would have been shaded in. It's quite helpful when you're doing this to imagine that 100 square, to think about how many of the hundredths have been shaded in. So what about 30 hundredths? Pause the video and see if you can think where that would go. Right, we've got 30 hundredths, but they don't both sit in there, okay? So our answer is 0.3, or you could have written 0.30. And again, we've got a picture here. We've got 30 hundredths shaded in, okay? But that is the same as 3/10, okay? When you imagine that each column is a tenth, and 3/10, you'd have the 3 in the tenths column, 0.3. What about, I'm going to move on past that one. There's a few more examples coming. 25 hundredths. Where is that going to go? Pause the video and see if you can work that out. Really well done if you manage to work out that your 25 hundredths is written as 0.25. Okay, you can see on the 100 square, we have got 25 out of 100 shaded in. Okay, there are 2 tenths there, and then 5 hundredths, 5 extra hundredths. And that is why 25 hundredths is written as 0.25. So here's another one, 48 hundredths. Pause the video and have a try. Really well done if you worked out that it needed to be 0.48. We can put a 4 in the tenths because there are 4 tenths in that number. Okay. And then we've got 8 hundredths. We've got 48 hundredths in total. Okay. And we set it out 0 in the ones column, 4 in the tenths, and 8 in the hundredths. Right. We'll do one more. 72 hundredths. Pause the video and think where you need to put that. Well done if you wrote it as 0.72. 7 tenths and 2 hundredths. Okay. 0.72. Okay, there's another example there, but I'm just going to whiz through those. Right, I'd like to have a little go at a matching activity just to give you some extra practice. So on the one side, you've got the decimals. On the other side, you have got the hundredths. Pause your video, see if you can work out what needs to go with what. Okay, well done. Hopefully you've worked out that 0.2 was 2 tenths. You can give yourself a tick. 0.8 is 8 tenths. 0.3 is 30 hundredths. You could have been 3 tenths, but there was no 3 tenths as an option. And 3 tenths is the same as 30 hundredths. 0.9 is 9 tenths. 0.08 is 8 hundredths. 0.33 is 33 hundredths. And 0.09 is 9 hundredths. Well done if you managed to get all of those or some of those right. Okay, so there's another activity. If you want a bit more practice, have a little try at this. If you want to skip through this, you can just keep going on with the video. But if you want to practice, pause your video and see if you can work out what fractions and decimals go with those amounts. Right, so the first example, 7 tenths, I hope you wrote 0.7. And then we've got 0.01 is 1 hundredth. 86 hundredths is 0.86. 40 hundredths is 0.40 or 0.4. 0.5 is the same as 5 tenths. 0.07 is 7 hundredths. 0.6 equals 60 hundredths. Because it was over 100, you needed to write 60. That is the same as 6 tenths. And 54 over 100 is the same as 0.54. Right, I hope we are getting the idea of this now. Ready to do your work. So circles have got an activity where you do need to print it off. And there are some decimals and there are some fractions. And what I'd like you to do is chop them all up, because at the moment, if you look at it straight away, the answers are there. Mix them all up and then try and find the matching pairs, a fraction to match a decimal. Once you've found a matching pair, stick it down, and then you can take a photo of the overall work, and then it's done. Okay. Squares, there is a sheet marked squares, pentagons, and hexagons. I would like you just to do section B. If you're flying through it and want to try section C, by all means do. I don't want to stop you, but if you've had enough, then just do section B. Pentagons and hexagons, it's on the same sheet. There, it's labeled section B and C, and I'd really like you to try and do all of them. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All the best with that. Happy converting decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals. Just before we go, of course, I've got one more little riddle maths problem for you. Not as hard as yesterday's, I don't think. How many total squares are there looking at that? And I will give you the answer to that tomorrow. Okay, enjoy your Thursday, everybody, and I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Okay, bye.